Welcome to my podcast From Chaos to Peace with Conny. I am Conny Graf and your host, and I will explore with you how a few minutes a day can keep the chaos away. And with chaos, we're talking about the physical, digital, social, financial, mental, emotional, and spiritual clutter that can accumulate in our life and business. In every episode, I want to make you aware how clutter is so much more than you think, how it affects your finances, and how clearing your clutter leads to more time, more money, and more peace. Let's go. Well, hello, my friend. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing? Thank you so much for allowing me back into your ears. So today I want to talk about Mercury Retrograde. I bet you have heard by now that once again Mercury is moving retrograde. Some of the social media posts I see out there imply that it would be best we all hide under the covers for these 3 weeks, that we basically need to put our life on hold and be worried. But that of course makes no sense. On the contrary, this is a fabulous time for clearing clutter and finishing stuff that we were procrastinating on. Yes, there are some things to watch out for, things that are more likely to go wrong or get delayed or that you could lose. But there is also a very positive and very supportive side to this energy that can help you make progress on your journey from chaos to peace. And back in September 2021, I released a podcast episode about the benefits of Mercury retrograde energy, and I decided I want to republish this as a refresher. It's a really short episode covering the most important things not to do, but focuses mostly on the things that this energy is perfect for, decluttering and finishing or discarding started projects. I myself have a list of things I want to finish in these 3 weeks. Task clutter, so to speak. And yes, that happens to me too. And I hope you also pick some things and get them done or out of the house with the help of this favorable energy. So without further ado, let's listen to past Conny, 2021 Conny, and then tag me on social media and send me a message and tell me what you are going to focus on while Mercury is retrograde, what you are going to declutter, or what projects you're going to finish. I really want to know. Please reach out. Okay, without further ado, let's jump into this episode. Well, hello, my friend, and thank you so much for allowing me back into your ears. This episode is going to be short and sweet. If you listen to it right when it's coming out, then Mercury has turned around and is moving backwards. We call that Mercury retrograde, and you have probably heard of it before. But you might wonder, what does that even mean for you or your life or your business? And most importantly, what the heck does it have to do with clutter? Well, first I want to say this is not an astrology class nor an astronomy class, and I'm not explaining what happens with Mercury or why we're calling it retrograde or any of all that. What I want to do is make you aware of the energies that are affecting all of us right now and how to take advantage of them on your decluttering journey. And yes, whether you quote-unquote believe in Mercury retrograde or not, you are still affected by its energies. If you're someone who puts this all off as nonsense, that's totally fine with me, but you could still do what I'm suggesting you do. All the decluttering tips I give in this episode are helpful either way. Doing so and by paying attention to what happens to you or those around you during this retrograde phase, you might even revise your opinion. Who knows? Again, most likely you have heard of Mercury retrograde, of all the things you shouldn't do because of it. Sometimes what you hear sounds like you need to put your life on hold or stay in bed for 3 weeks. But who could do that, right? And this, of course, makes no sense at all. But Mercury does rule communication, contracts, agreements, transportation, scheduling, and technology, and that's why things in those areas are more likely to go wrong or get delayed. We are talking about, for example, communicating is going to be harder. Listening may seem harder. Misunderstandings can happen. We are maybe more forgetful. And we're less patient and have a shorter fuse. Transportation. You could miss a train or a plane connection. Or your car breaks down. Or you're late for a meeting or appointment, no matter how early you left your house. Or you have a misunderstanding when or where the appointment or meeting takes place. In technology, maybe your computer is acting up or even crashes. So do you have a recent backup ready to go if that happens to you? Or you could lose your cell phone, or the new iPhone update goes wrong and your phone doesn't work anymore. This is just a little list of what all could go wrong during Mercury retrograde. In short, in life and in business, Mercury retrograde periods can cause your plans to go topsy-turvy, how my friend Michelle would say. But again, that doesn't mean you need to be worried or stop living and working. It simply means you want to be especially flexible and, for example, plan in extra time for travel, leave extra early to get to meetings and appointments. Be mindful, patient, and understanding when communicating. For example, rereading emails and text messages twice before you send them off to see if they really express what you mean. Or ask clarifying questions when you receive emails or text messages before you get ticked off or insulted by something someone says to you or writes to you. If possible, you might also want to avoid signing important contracts, especially if you are a bit unsure about it. Remember misunderstandings, and you might also not 100% understand what you're signing, so better hold off if it is possible. You can review these contracts, plans, and projects. It might just be better to wait to make a final decision and start that new project until Mercury is direct again. But like anything, Mercury retrograde also has its good side, and that's why I make this episode. There are some things that these energies are very beneficial for. One of them being clutter clearing, especially wrapping up started things or fixing broken items. Unfinished things and projects, as well as items in need of fixing, are an often overlooked category of clutter. But you can listen to my episode number 2 to hear more about this type of clutter, because we all have it. Again, now during Mercury retrograde, it is a good time to clean up and finish up these things. So let's look into it in more detail. So in your physical space, or with your physical clutter, you might not want to decide to get rid of dilemma items that you are agonizing over for the past few months already. Now is really not the time. You might regret your decision later. Instead, do a love tour. Try to see your home and office with fresh eyes. Then reflect on it. Maybe journal about it. What are your thoughts about your space? How do you feel in your space? If you don't know what a love tour is, listen to episode number 4 of this podcast. While you're doing the love tour, pay attention. Do you have a leaky faucet? Or a drawer that is stuck? Or a light bulb that is burned out? Now is the time to get these things taken care of and fixed. Since Mercury also rules transportation, as I told you before, how about you declutter and clean your car? Maybe go get that overdue oil change. Fill up the windshield washing fluid. Check the pressure on your tires. Do whatever you can so that the car doesn't break down. Now let's turn to the file monster, the papers. How big is your pile of papers that you need to one day go through, throw out what is not needed, and file what you need to keep? Maybe you want to start with 5 minutes a day and process these papers, or challenge yourself to process 10 or 20 pieces of papers a day. Just make sure, if in doubt, don't throw out. I bet there is still a lot that can be let go of and recycled. Talking about if in doubt, don't throw out. Do you know where all your important documents are? Do you have it all in one place, ready to grab and run in case of an emergency? If not, you might want to start collecting and securing them. I will most likely create a podcast episode for this. But for now, go to my website and read on the blog the process that I suggest. I will put the link in the show notes. For your digital environment, because Mercury also rules technology, think computers, cell phones, etc. You want to back up your data like ASAP, like now, or better yesterday, to make sure if something happens to your computer or your phone, your data is safe. I have a blog post on my website on how I back up my computer and cell phone on a regular basis. It's really not rocket science and can save you a lot of hassle. Just ask someone whose computer died suddenly and they had no backup. It's a nightmare. If you are an online entrepreneur, how many started online courses do you have that you never finished? Or maybe you did finish them, but the implementation to-do list is lost somewhere in that stack of paper that piles up on your desk. You know, the one we just talked about in the section of the file monster. I know that is one area I struggle with clutter because I can't keep up with my curious brain who wants to read the next interesting book or take the next exciting course before I even had a chance to implement what I learned in the last one. Okay, let's leave the digital environment and go more into the social environment. If you, for example, say family and friends are important to you, review your schedule and ask yourself, are you putting enough of your energy into family and friends? Or have you become overextended in other areas like work or volunteering, which leaves absolutely no time for your spouse, children, friends, and colleagues? Or let's take the area of health. For example, if you say health is important, go review your schedule and ask yourself, do I really prioritize my health? Do I take enough breaks? Do I try to make my life flow with ease? Do I practice decluttering as self-love to reduce my stress levels? Or do I let others dictate what I do and when? Mercury retrograde is a great opportunity to look inward, reviewing and re-evaluating your circumstances and intentional or unintentional choices, as well as letting go of limiting beliefs and stories that keep us stuck, which is mental clutter, as you may know if you listen on a regular basis to my podcast. So, in the next 3 weeks, do slow down, which will help avoid miscommunication or mishaps of all kinds as much as it is within your power. Take time to reflect on where you are headed, and ask yourself, are you on the right path? It's really an excellent time to take a step back and review who you are and what you're doing. Become more aware and mindful. Just don't make any drastic changes until after the retrograde period is over. Okay. Let's summarize. During the 3 weeks of Mercury retrograde, you want to A, slow down and be very aware that Mercury rules communication, contracts, agreements, transportation, scheduling, and technology. And keep in mind that things in those areas are more likely to go wrong or get delayed than in other times of the year. And B, instead of starting new projects and signing important contracts, rather wrap up and bring already started projects to an end. Fix minor broken things and step back and review what you're doing, who you are becoming, and where you're heading to make sure that this is really what you want and aligned with your values and priorities. Well, I hope this was helpful. This was it for today. And you find all the links to the blog post and podcast episodes that I was talking about in the show notes. And the show notes you find at connygraf.com/podcast. That is connygraf, ConnyGraf.com/podcast. Thank you for joining me today and listening all the way to the end. Have a beautiful and amazing week, and please subscribe so you never miss an episode. See you next week. Take good care and be safe.